Alright guys, what is going on? My name is Sebastian Stoneham, and yeah, this is my 1985 Volkswagen Vanagon Westfalia campervan. If you've been following along, we are doing a build series here. Currently building out it's an early 2000s ALH TDI motor, and I do have it out of the van here, unfortunately. Not because I have some major issues going on, it's because a couple months ago I actually ran my turbo dry, and in the process of doing that I developed a ticking noise. I replaced the turbo. Once I got everything buttoned back up, I had a really noticeable ticking noise, so I replaced the camshaft and the lifters, because the camshaft and the lifters are supposed to be a very common wear item for these TDI motors. So I replaced that, and of course the ticking was still there. I just kept running it to see if anything else would fail. Periodic oil changes to make sure I don't have any bad stuff in the oil. I actually pulled off the oil pan and it checked the bearings, the rod bearings, and just glanced at the main bearings. I just wanted to see if there was anything in the oil pan, and there wasn't. So now that I actually have a place to actually work on the van, I went ahead and pulled the transmission and the engine, and we are working on that today. So first things first, I want to clean up the external parts of the engine, so once I do pull the head completely off, I don't get any grime or gunk inside of the engine. Well guys, I already ran into an issue. These intake manifold bolts are extremely tight, and they are deciding to not want to grab my 6mm or number 6 Allen wrench here. That is not good. I already somewhat stripped one out, and I don't want to do that to all of them. So I'm gonna see if I have any more of these bits that'll grab a little bit better, and cross my fingers because I don't want to have to deal with this. It's actually the next day now, and I could not work on this thing, or I really didn't want to, yesterday in the rain when I discovered that all of these intake manifold bolts were stripped out. But I'm getting a good lead on it with this this extractor tool, and it's actually working really freaking well. I've gotten half of them out now. I got the other half to do, and then I'll get the whole exhaust manifold and turbo off. So I got these 3 off, and this one was stripped. Too bad, and I couldn't get this piece in there to extract it. This one looks fine, but I'm sure that's gonna strip as well, and I've got the end off. So I just got 2 more bolts for the intake manifold, and then I'll just pull the exhaust manifold with the turbo off. I got the turbo feed line. If you remember a couple months ago, that's what blew on me. That's why I needed a new turbo. So this is in fact a brand new VNT 15 with the VNT 17 internals in it. It just looks old and weathered because it has a bunch of oil dripping all over it, and that's one of the issues that I'm trying to solve. So let's get all this pulled off.
Okay. All right.
Now that I have the intake manifold off, I could start working on the exhaust manifold. These bolts should be a lot easier to take off because I've had them off in the past couple months here, but these intake manifold bolts really fought me this time. The bolts themselves, I'm pretty sure were torqued to spec when I put them on. I tried torquing everything to spec, and this intake manifold has not been off ever since I put this whole engine together. So we'll see how easy this exhaust manifold comes off. All right, before I pull off the valve cover and set the timing, I'm going to go ahead and give all of this a good cleaning. Not that I'm a clean freak, but I just don't want anything going onto the block surface or into the cylinder walls when I pull off this head. So I'm going to clean all this up and then move on to pulling the valve cover, setting the timing to top dead center, and then I'll pull this few more accessories off and then pull the head off. Actually, before I start cleaning, I'm going to pull out these exhaust studs one by one. I'm just going to double thread another nut on top of the pre-existing ones and then wedge it in there and just pull out the studs so I have a better surface to clean. Now that all of this is looking pretty clean, I'm going to start working on the top of the motor. I'm going to go ahead and take the vacuum pump off here and some of the accessories off the back, like this coolant junction, and then I take the valve cover off, set it to top dead center, and start pulling the timing belt off and get this head pulled off. For the TDIs, they come with the kit that you could get online, so you could set this to top dead center. It comes with this, so you could slip this into the groove on the back of the camshaft, and it locks the camshaft in place just like that. You just want it flush on both sides, and it should slip in nicely once these two lobes are up. The front two lobes are up, and there's a hole on the top of the injection pump. So that's the top. Dowel into that notch, and then there's a hole that goes into the injection pump. Now that this is locked in place and the cam is locked in place, I'm going to go ahead and loosen this tensioner up and get this nut undone for the camshaft, and then I'll start taking everything apart. And while I'm doing this, voila. Ray's over here on Babbel learning Spanish, so at least one of us will know how to...
I'm on Duolingo.
Oh, Duolingo, not Babbel.
What escuela? Clase.
Judge her really hard in the comment section below, please.
It's day one, leave me alone.
It's not bad for day one. She got her front brakes done, rotors, pads, and bearings. You put the new pads on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And now we're gonna flip it around, and she's gonna do the rear wheel cylinders because the passenger side wheel cylinder is leaking really bad. We're driving down from the mountain the other day, and we lost brakes because, yeah, it was just a bad situation. But luckily, we ordered some parts from Van Cafe and got them in yesterday or 2 days ago. So got the front brakes done. Now she's gonna turn around and start working on the back brakes while I pull my head off.
You don't want to watch?
You can do it that side.
You're so bossy.
I was just thinking, like, I just noticed, and luckily these caps are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to, I can't really see a number on this one. So this one will be 4. I'll reference this video back. There's a 1 here, a 2 here, 3 here. That's supposed to be a 4. And then a 5 here.
And all of your valves are in line.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately, I am gonna have to finish this tomorrow and pull the head off in the morning because I do not have this size Allen size, a 12-point star socket or Allen. I don't know. I used my friend's when I installed this head a few years ago, so I don't have the tool. I'm gonna have to go get it in the morning. And meanwhile, we're just gonna finish up Ray's wheel cylinders in the rear of her van and get this thing back on the road. All right, I went into town this morning, rode my bike. It was like 18 miles round trip, and I got these triple square bit set, and this is the one I need. I just checked it. It's an M12 triple square, and I believe, yeah, I used my friend's when I originally put this head on, and now I have the right tool to take it off. So I'll get the injector lines pulled off real quick, and then I want to take these bolts off in the sequence that I tightened them down. So I just Googled what I needed to do for the sequence, and we'll see how it goes. Now for the moment of truth. This is what I've been waiting for, to pull off the head and discover what is really going on underneath this cylinder head. I want to check to see if all of the pistons are good, the cylinder walls are good, and more importantly, I want to make sure all these valves are straight. Now, I need to figure out how to take the valves out once the head is off, but we'll cross that path when we get there. And as far as the head bolts go, I do have some new ARP head bolts or head studs that will be going back in one of these boxes, and with the rest of the rebuild stuff. So yeah, let's pull this head off and see what she looks like. All right, at first glance here, it doesn't look too bad at all. I don't see any scoring on the cylinder walls, and I don't see any melted pistons, which that's kind of what I was worrying about. I believe it was last year now, I did have an issue with timing belt tensioner, which sits right here. And this little knob here slipped out of this little hole, and it created enough slack in the timing belt. So I did contact the pistons with the valves, unfortunately. However, I put a new timing belt tensioner in, and it seemed to be running just fine without any noise. It wasn't until later that I started having the ticking noise, hence why we're pulling the head off to make sure everything's healthy. So as far as I can tell now, there are no melted pistons. I'll get a better look at it once I clean everything up and inspect everything a little bit better. I do see a few areas where the valves could have possibly contacted the pistons, and I haven't really looked at the head yet here, but I'll have all this cleaned up. I'm gonna get all of this cleaned up and inspect it further, and then run a couple tests to make sure my connecting rods are straight and so forth. I do want to pull out the valves and just check to see if they are bent, and before I do that, I'll go ahead and run some tests to see if any of them are leaking, because that could also be an issue. It could be a bad valve seat, valve seal, valve stem seal. Well, I'll probably end this video, and you guys are gonna have to follow along with that journey in the next one. I'll probably see you guys on Wednesday. If you like the video, hit the like button. It really helps me out. And if you want to follow along on this crazy journey rebuilding this 1.9 TDI out of an early 2000s Volkswagen Jetta, then you could go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell notification as well. It lets you guys know whenever I post a new video. With that being said, I'll see you guys in just a couple days.